And Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. A major breakthrough with North Korea after a historic meeting inside the Oval Office. President Trump is now saying he'll sit down with Kim Jong-un in Singapore.
We'll be meeting on June 12th in Singapore. I think it'll be a process. It's not, I never said it goes in one meeting. I think it's going to be a process. But the relationships are building, and that's a very positive thing. We talked about ending the war. And, you know, this war has been going on, it's got to be the longest war, almost 70 years. Can you believe that we're talking about the ending of the Korean War?
The president's announcement coming after talking with North Korean Vice Chairman Kim Yong-chol at the White House for over an hour. President Trump also surprising some when asked about receiving a letter from Kim Jong-un.
I haven't seen the letter yet. I purposely didn't open the letter. I haven't opened it. I didn't open it in front of the director. I said, would you want me to open it? He said, you can read it later. I may be in for a big surprise, folks.
The president has since read the letter. I don't know if he was in for a big surprise, but that happened all during the daily briefing, and that was my favorite part when he made that little joke. An amazing day. I think that the big news out of it, Kimberly, is that, yes, of course, the summit is a go, at least today. We'll see how that goes for next week. But that also, the South Koreans have been pushing for this possibility of signing an end to the Korean War, and the president indicating that that is likely to be an outcome of that first meeting. It's not necessarily the full denuclearization, all the civid stuff that he wants, but that is actually one of the go-tos for the South Koreans, probably the North Koreans as well.
Yeah, I think this is really so historic in terms of what has been accomplished so far. No other presidency has been able to get the ball so far down in the court to be able to do something like this in terms of brokering some kind of peace agreement, denuclearization. And when you saw this today, it got back on track in terms of saying, okay, we're going to be able to do this summit. This is something that everybody should be very excited about internationally, because it brings the chance and the opportunity for peace and stability in a region that has been so geopolitically fraught with danger, with a regime. And what we see here is he's really been able to bring Kim Jong-un to the table and to his knees, essentially, because his economy is it's on the brink of collapse. He has really no choice but to come to the table. What President Trump has done with tariffs, what he's done with applying pressure with Chinese, what he's done in terms of his outreach and relationship with South Korea as well, has all put this into motion in relatively quick period of time early in his presidency. So I think it's most auspicious and favorable for the United States and for North and South Korea.
I think you meant sanctions, right? Not tariffs, because the president did say, Jesse, that he had over 100 additional sanctions that he was ready to put on, and the North Koreans knew about that, and that in the meeting the president said, okay, I won't do it, at least not at this moment.
If he doesn't like what he sees when he opens the letter, slap a few more sanctions back on. I was getting my shoes shined on downstairs earlier today, and they have to have the MSNBC channel on because it's right under Rock Center, so I was forced to watch them cover this whole
You don't have
spectacle.
to explain to us. We won't judge you. We won't judge you.
Okay, I thought I needed to make that clear. It's not watching it on purpose. So, and you know, he's talking about bringing, like Kimberly said, these two sides together and ending a war that's gone on. I mean, we're still at war, technically. That's been going on for decades. And the anchors come out and they just criticize him for
I saw that.
Going back and forth on the Singapore summit, for canceling it and then going back on and then saying, what a hypocrite. He gets out of the Iran deal and then he wants to make a deal with North Korea. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, if this was President Obama,
no kidding.
and this was going along the way it's going along under President Trump, he would be being hailed. The guy that was in the White House today, it's amazing that they would bring a guy who's responsible for hacking Sony, hacking on people's limbs, doing some of the most atrocious things to human beings, I think, in the world. He's one of the most brutal people around, into the White House, into the Oval Office, and not just for handing off a letter, but then just to sit and discuss things. The fact that you are forced to deal with savage people in this world says a lot about our country and what we're willing to do in order to achieve peace. China is, as you've been saying, is pretty integral in this. They don't necessarily want to see North Korea defanged. No. They're worried about a crisis with migrants flowing across. And let's just say Korea comes together as one, eventually a powerhouse, and then you have Japan right there and their alliance with the United States. You have a pretty bold kind of Western-oriented alliance right on China's doorstep. They might not like that too much, so I guess we'll just continue to see how China reacts.
The president said again, Greg, my favorite line, we'll see what happens.
Yes.
But he was a little bit more emphatic today in talking about that this meeting will not be the only meeting, that it's not going to be where you finish the whole deal. The other thing is he did, I don't know if we have the video, if you guys can pull it up.
No.
He pulled he not only did he have an hour-long meeting, but he did like this personal diplomacy, and he actually walked them out to their cars, which was a huge sign of respect. And he took that like sort of group picture that they could be showing back in North Korea.
Well, 2 points. One, he kept saying again and again that it's a process. This is always a process. And you have to remember, this is a developer from Queens, not a professor from Columbia. So he does things like a developer from Queens, meaning it's about respect and reciprocity, servicing a client. So you develop a relationship with your client, you make them feel good, you wave the carrot, you got the stick, but you wave the carrot. The tone at all times has to reflect win-win. It's like you and I are both going to get something out of this. A lot of people are critical of this because you're doing a win-win with a heartless killer. Right. But the fact is, he's a developer from Queens. He's dealt with worse.
So this is easy for him.
This is easy. So the thing is, the fact is, the options that you have, okay, you got to meet with Dr. Evil, but the other option is you don't, and that means war or starvation. You're going. So if you're against this meeting, then you're saying, okay, maybe we just starve these people to death, or 25 million people through sanctions and whatnot, or do you actually try something new? I think that's why this is a breakthrough, is because you have a developer from Queens who said, why not? Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. And everybody who is freaking out about that might want to just wait and see what happens.
I don't understand the criticism today, on especially today of all days, where it was all the diplomacy in one. But Geraldo, you have a perspective from having covered the conflict in Korea over the years, and you said you were you there in 1983?
In the 80s, a couple times. To Jesse's point first, you make your nose and you go in there, and there's plenty of, in wartime, there's plenty of criminal allegations to go around. But watching Dana's excellent program at 2 o'clock, I mean, that line really stuck in my head. Can you believe we're talking about ending the Korean War? Can you believe we're talking about ending the Korean War? I mean, denuclearization and all this, and the nuance and all the rest.
How many people in America have actually been a part of that, because have been sent there, served in Korea, have been at the DMZ? I mean, there's
virtually every Korea
several
officer.
Generations of Americans have been there.
But what if they unite? But they don't.
They won't unite.
No, but I'm just saying. You were saying what a great thing it is to talk about. Now you're saying it's not going to happen.
You're talking about unification. I'm talking about a peace treaty between the United States, the United Nations.
I'm talking about if they decide to, let's say they reunify and don't need denuclear.
Well, I don't see that happening. Where is a historic example of that happening? I think the centrifugal forces tend to keep countries separate. I think they will be much more intimately united. I think their economies might be much more in sync. I think the system, the North Korean totalitarian dictatorship will loosen up over the decades as people get cell phones. My goodness, as they get satellite TV, I think it will have a modifying effect on the country. But I mean, to me, today, along with 3.8% unemployment and record low unemployment for black people, for Hispanics, for women, and this news about a peace treaty with Korea, I think this is the best day of the Trump presidency.
Well, it's one of the best for sure. But I think what's really interesting is the way he was able to try to apply pressure across all different fronts, also with the Chinese, because without them being involved in this, he had to put some pressure on them, like with the tariffs as well, to be able to get them to come to the table to support it, because they support the North Korean, regime. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been motivated to get involved.
And to Kimberly's point, it really is about the economy in North Korea. They are on their knees. It's starvation nation. And Kim, I think last year, made a promise to his people and said, we are going to bring you out of the despicable hole you're in. I promise growth. I promise better lifestyle and standard of living. And he has not been able to deliver. In fact, since he made that promise, with the sanctions, things have gotten worse. So he is dying to bring his country into the 21st century, and he sees a pathway forward with President Trump, and hopefully they can work out a system where they can slowly have the sanctions eased off, while at the same time we take a closer look at how they ramp down their.
And he told the press that they got to pack their bags because they're going to Singapore. Did you have a last?
There you go.
I was just going to say
Nobel Peace Prize.
No, I was going to say you could start by, surplus food as a gesture of goodwill. You deliver
also
a
information,
1 week supply of grain to something
information
like
and internet access.
You also have to stop saying they're on their knees, because the whole point of this is pride and respect. Yeah. And when you're servicing a client, you don't keep saying, well, we got him where we want him.
Right, that's why he walked them to the car.
Exactly.
He did the generous,
it's a shift. It's a subtle shift that a salesman knows, and a real estate salesman knows. You got to get him inside.
Hopefully Kim's not watching me.
Right, the two of us. Don't listen to Jesse and us.
All right, President Trump is responding to Samantha Bee's attack against his daughter, Ivanka. His comments next.
I hear that song, I'm standing in the pouring rain on your front lawn, and ooh, I still think about you. Every time I hear that song. The fun.
The fallout intensifies following Samantha Bee's vulgar attack on Ivanka Trump. The president is blasting the comedian for viciously coming after his daughter, tweeting, "Why aren't they firing no talent Samantha Bee for the horrible language used on her low-rating show? A total double standard, but that's okay. We are winning, and we'll be doing so for a long time to come." And amid the firestorm, the Full Frontal host is defending her political commentary while accepting a Television Academy Honors Award last night. Bee said, quote, "We spent the day wrestling with the repercussions of one bad word when we all should have spent the day incensed that as a nation we are wrenching children from their parents and treating people legally seeking asylum as criminals. We as a show will never stop shouting about the inhumanities of this world from the rooftops and striving to make it a better place, but in a comedy way." So, this, Dana, I'm sure you feel the same way. It was incredibly insulting and obscene what she said, and it just really highlights the hypocrisy of how the media treats a comment like this made about a woman by the president's daughter, who does nothing but work tirelessly as a public servant.
I don't think I've ever actually said that word out loud and certainly not about anybody else, and not scripted and planned in a show. Of course.
Exactly.
That is not going to happen. I do think there is something interesting happening here. Like this, people trying to say, well, Roseanne did it, so she should be fired. I am not for the government telling any corporation that somebody should be fired. Mm-hmm. Obviously, TBS decided to treat this very differently than ABC, and that's their decision, and whatever happens to her show will happen. I do think that there's something very interesting, and David French at National Review wrote a bit about this today, and I'll try to sum it up. And that is that when we're talking about the hypocrisy and the double standard, it's not just about the consequence, it's about the movements. And so on the left, you tend to have an ideology that's connected to the culture with peer groups that have a shared history. And then you add social media to that, and it's like there's an impenetrable wall around them and protecting them. I don't think that the apology was sincere by Samantha Bee, but I also don't know if there's anything more that can be done about it. TBS is going to do what they want to do.
Yeah, Jesse, it's pretty pathetic that she can make these comments about Ivanka Trump, who's worked so hard on behalf of women's issues, equal pay for women, contributed so much, gave up and sacrificed, a great life that she was having here, time with her children to be able to serve the country in such an admirable fashion. And then she insults her and demeans her like this. If it was anybody else, if it was somebody, God forbid, someone in, the Obama family or the Clinton family, Chelsea Clinton or one of the Obama daughters, there would just be complete and utter outrage.
To quote the great Tommy Lahren, what's so funny? If it weren't for double standards, the left would have no standards at all. And I think that really plays perfectly here.
Profound. Wow.
She wants to have it both ways. She wants to say, well, I'm a comedian. It's satire. That's why I can get away with this nasty language. And then when she gets caught saying that, she says, oh, well, now I'm a political commentator. Because this is really about the horrible treatment of illegal aliens crossing the southern border. Pick which side you want. I mean, you can't have it both ways. We get what's going on. I would fire her for her bad ratings, not for her bad mouth. Look at her numbers. In 1 year, she's lost half of her audience.
Yeah.
And that was before she said anything like this. So to Greg's point yesterday, though, it's so funny. It's like we're all sharks in the water. One person on this side says that, and everyone either descends or defends. And the same thing on the other side. Everybody comes in, and then once in a while, you get a moment where everybody goes in and condemns, and then we all pat ourselves on the back. We're all fair and balanced, and we all have integrity. And then we go back to our sides, flip the switch, and then we go at it again. I mean, this is what we do in America. The audience sits back. We love it. Everybody watches. We tear each other apart. People make mistakes. We all go nuts. It's like blood sport.
Yeah.
I guess it rates.
It's like that slap fight.
Anyway, Greg, go ahead and get your comments in.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. That's why I accept all apologies. No, I do. I mean, it's like.
I'm sorry, Greg.
It's her apology may be sincere, insincere. I don't read minds. I don't pretend to read minds. So if somebody says they're sorry, I'm going to accept their apology because, frankly, we got to get off the outrage freeway. And the left may never get off the outrage freeway, but I want to get off it. And if we know where this is headed, if we forego language and debate, we're going to end up in some kind of weird, ugly, violent place. It's his daughter.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah. But the point is, that may have been the whole point. If you think about this, if you think about it clearly, Samantha Bee knew she wasn't getting fired. She knew. This was already in his script.
Yep.
She knew that if she poked the bear was going to respond. To your point that her ratings suffered, nothing could be better than the president focusing attention on you. She did exactly what she intended to do, and I believe it was a success. She got the
president who was unpopular with her core audience.
Yeah, so the audience loved it. When she said that, her audience was crazy. They cheered. It helped her.
Yeah. In the spirit of the Korea news, the astounding news. What do the Ivanka Trump, Valerie Jarrett slights have in common? They have the elegant and gracious response of the victims of the obvious insults. Valerie Jarrett was very measured, very mannered, very, very gracious, again, to use that word. Ivanka quoted Marcus Aurelius and Jesus. I thought that she responded with a very noble, measured, dignified reaction.
Yeah, well, that's.
I think that this is what I think. I think that who's going to get fired, who's going to get boycotted, who's going to get... Why can't we take our signals from the victims? If Ivanka Trump is willing to turn the other cheek, if Valerie Jarrett's willing to turn the other cheek, why can't why can't Roseanne come back now that she's apologized? What do you want her to crawl on her belly over razor blades? And the same thing with Samantha Bee. I mean, maybe we assign to her a more malicious or self-serving motive for her apology. I wipe that out. Let's respond to these people the way their victims are.
Do you know why this is? I have a theory on why this is impossible. It's because of modern culture, anything goes from language to behavior. The public is now trying to find another way to judge. So now we're using Twitter and Facebook as a place, as our mob justice, because everything else goes now. Everything else goes.
And the consequences are always you're fired.
Exactly.
That's always it.
Let Valerie and Ivanka get together, go out to dinner in Washington, D.C.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I like your comment about her ratings being so bad, they can get rid of her just for that.
Right.
All right, Bill Clinton breaks his silence on the Monica Lewinsky scandal, and what he's now saying is coming up next.
Drink. La 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 la. Drink. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Bubba, Bill Clinton back in the news, reigniting the scandal that led to his impeachment, firing back at one-time ally New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand for saying that he should have resigned over Monica Lewinsky. The former president saying, quote, "You have to really ignore what the context was. But, you know, she's living in a different context. and she did it for different reasons. But I just disagree with her. So the former president suggesting the times they have changed between the relatively permissive climate of the late 1990s when he beat impeachment and the Me Too movement of today. So judged by the standards of today, is Bill Clinton too toxic to help the Democrats come November? It sure looks that way. The New York Times reporting, quote, Mrs. Clinton's husband appears far less welcome on the trail, with his unpopularity among Republicans compounded by new skepticism on the left about his treatment of women and allegations of sexual assault. You know, Kimberly,
Yes.
There is no doubt but that Bill, I was his fiercest defender in the 1990s. But the context was so different. He was 62% approval rating. So it was easy to defend him.
Sure.
Nowadays, my goodness, can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine. I think everybody's had enough of the Clintons, to be quite honest. You know, it was like the last campaign.
The
with Hillary
Clintons
Clinton.
or him?
I think the Clintons. I think Hillary Clinton. I think Bill Clinton. I think the Clinton Foundation. I think it's enough already, the big ripoff on the American public and people and trading favors through the Clinton Foundation. That's why their donations are down, et cetera. So I think like it's enough of them already. And now the recovery from all of that has begun, and from the Obama administration too. And Bill Clinton, I think at this point, you know, move on. And Hillary as well.
Does your generation sense that, see that, you know, that you missed the free love boat kind of?
I don't know what that question means, Geraldo, but I
I'm
will
encouraging you
respond
not to answer
the
that.
general topic.
You're going to be his lawyer?
I'm his lawyer every show.
Should I withdraw it?
I would slightly disagree with Kimberly in so much as I think the Democratic Party is sick of Hillary, but I feel like there's a special place in the Democratic Party's heart for Bill. He was a tremendous fundraiser, still is pretty solid, and a great strategist. A lot of the books coming out about Hillary's loss talk about how he was imploring the campaign to, you know, go to these places in Wisconsin, fight for the white working class, middle American votes, and he was kind of brushed aside, like, oh, you don't know the data analytics that we're looking at. You're not really in touch with what we're doing. We got this, Bill. Go run along. And he was right. So I think there still is a place for Bill in the midterm elections, and I don't see any Democrats shooing him away. I would think they'd want to embrace him.
He's politically savvy, but he's got major problems in terms of assaultive conduct against women.
He does. I just don't know where we're at that height, right? Remember when, who was the senator from, was it Minnesota, with posing like that? I don't think remember the Al Franken, that was at the height of the Me Too with the Alabama
During the
guy.
feeding frenzy.
That was a feeding frenzy. I think we're
flash mob.
slowly getting away from that. Not saying Me Too's over by any means. I'm just saying there's not as much frenzy.
What would you be advising your client, the candidate for senator from
About Clinton?
Wyoming?
Well, I do think, Wyoming, yeah, don't come. But let's just say general Democratic senator. I think you're going to see a little bit more of this. Bill Clinton has a book coming out with the famous author and novelist James Patterson. It comes out next Tuesday. That's why you have him out there. He hasn't addressed this question before about Kirsten Gillibrand. I think that he actually, when he answers it, it is with some delicacy and some graciousness towards her, because he's saying, and I was there on Capitol Hill, I remember what it was like in the 1990s when all of this was happening. But I also think this is a curious time in our history as Americans, because we are living longer and presidents have been younger. They are living post-presidential lives for a long time, and you want to try to figure out a way to move on from that previous party. It's almost difficult to do so because they're going to continue to be out in the public eye.
But you know, Greg, every time he comes out, the Republicans will bring up Paula Jones. They'll
or
bring
Juanita
up
Broaddrick.
some other purported victim, and isn't that a weight that will constantly diminish his legs?
Everybody's got these problems, you know. I think the Democrats have a bigger problem. They're faced with a choice. Do they move further left into the world of identity politics and further alienate America, or do they decide to find a candidate that will help them return to the fold that we used to call America, where people feel like it's okay to be patriotic? I think the big issue isn't Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton. It's the fact that the only wild card they have right now is Eric Holder, and he makes John Kerry look conscious. He has the charisma of balsa wood.
I disagree. I like Eric Holder.
Well, you can like him.
You can like him, but his legacy, if you can even call it that, is fraught with problems and complications. Yes, gun running,
I see it, the
Fast and
Republicans
Furious.
in Congress attacked the first African-American attorney general in a way that was so unfair.
It's always about race.
Dragged him down. Well, they dragged him. They held him in contempt contempt of Congress for that made up. Anyway.
That might not have been about race.
Nothing was made up. There was a guy that was dead at the border because of guns that they let
Eric Holder
slide.
didn't kill him.
No, but he covered it up.
But he covered it up, but the
Was
gun.
the investigation
Baloney.
racist?
Stay right.
I'm glad you came.
Welcome back. Time for the fastest 7 minutes on television. Let's go. Michael Rotondo, the unemployed 30-year-old, evicted from his parents' house, is finally gone. In these DailyMail.com photos, you can see the freeloader packing up and moving out. He left before today's court-ordered deadline of noon. I spoke to him for my weekend show. Take a listen. All right, Mike, where are you right now?
Right now, I'm at my cousin's sister's house.
Okay, so you're still technically living with the family.
We're here because there's a nice Skype setup
Got
with
it.
a camera and a microphone, and it's very easy to set up, very nice.
Okay, so there's Mike. Greg, what do you think about this guy?
I love the fact that the Daily Mail is covering this. I mean, this is the world we live in. Some obscure guy is living at home with his parents, and it's global news. I think he needs a total makeover. I think you could help him. He needs grooming. He needs wardrobe. He needs a resume builder. He needs. It would be a good reality show. It's from zero to hero. Jesse, you host it. 1 hour special on Fox News.
I like it. I think he does need a haircut, don't you think,
Yes.
Dana?
Yeah, I mean, you do kind of feel for him. You know, it's like, I kind of feel for
You
him.
feel sad for him.
But
Well, he wants to be set up with a girlfriend, so if you know anybody single,
Gross.
No,
She
I'm
doesn't
out.
feel that strongly.
Yeah, listen, this isn't charity over
Kimberly,
here.
what do you do with that?
No way.
Oh, that's not
No
nice.
way. Okay.
No, that's not
So we can look at
nice.
Geraldo. He loves it.
All right, Geraldo.
God.
I like this, by the way. That looks
Thanks.
good on you.
I'll talk about this in a second. You know, seeing him packing more than anything else, it reminded me of Greg Gutfeld and Lou Dobbs yesterday when Dobbs drove Greg to work and he was giving him his dinosaur and
We
his
have a
other
special
toys.
relationship.
No, I mean he makes global news because he is symbolic of a generation of slow starters. People to be
nice way
kind.
to put it.
To be kind.
Why is everyone
Years at
being
your
so
parents
nice
kinda-
about this guy?
Laszlo is molasses, Kimberly.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone's. Why do you feel sorry for him, Dane? I think this
I feel
guy
sorry
needs
for everyone.
to get a. No, this guy needs to
You're
like
so
get a
nice.
life, get a job. The hair is the least of the problem. I mean, really, he shouldn't be like freeloading off of his parents. That's why they had to go to court to get rid of him. How pathetic is that?
Well, now he's freeloading off of his cousin. All right,
And it's
next.
a distant cousin.
That's right. A 14-year-old is the winner of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. So here on the 5 can spell the winning word.
Koinonia.
Can you please repeat the word?
Koinonia.
Yeah.
All right, everybody write this down.
Koinonia.
Write it down.
Can we use it in a sentence?
If you know what it means, you can use it in a sentence.
You're hosting the segment. You don't know what it means?
Thanks,
Koinonia.
Geraldo.
Koi. Koi.
Yeah.
I have koi fish.
Koinonia.
Koi.
I got it.
Koinonia.
I wrote mine.
Nia.
Koinonia. Everybody write this down. And pencils down.
Oh, wait.
Here is
well,
how the
mine's not
word
written.
is spelled.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Koinonia. Koinonia. Koinonia.
That is correct.
We have
No way. Cheaters.
I didn't cheat.
Hello, we're spelling
I had
bee
op- I had
champions and
optional.
speech and
Greg said.
debate.
Close.
But can I just ask you
Do we win a
something?
prize?
It's not cheating if you read the news in the morning.
Exactly. And it means Christian fellowship.
It does?
So-
Is that what it means?
Unbelievable.
Wow.
I thought it was like an expensive fish.
Yeah, I have
koi.
koi. That's why I spelled
No,
KOI.
that's like koi pond.
All right, well, I feel really dumb. Finally, it's the play everybody's talking about. LeBron James can't believe it after his teammate J.R. Smith wastes precious time at the end of regulation against the Warriors. The Kings' reaction, I can't believe I'm calling him that, is now taking over the internet. Here's just a couple of memes. We just left a rest stop. Why didn't you go then?
My
Or-
husband would say that.
When your mom is yelling at you for something your sibling did. And finally, and when you leave all the doors open, but your dog poops in the house anyway. All right, Geraldo, I was watching this last night. I mean,
The Cavaliers
were stoned.
they were robbed. I must have been stoned.
No, the JR. JR, you too, Geraldo.
I thought that the Cavs were absolutely robbed. I mean, before this play, LeBron James was clearly charged. They called it an illegal block. Instead, they gave the ball back to Golden State. It was a hometown ref call. It was awful. Then J.R. Smith, he just went blank. I don't know what the hell he was thinking about. I think he thought the Cavs were ahead when he went to dribble and
Or
waste
maybe he
time.
thought they had more time left.
And
Who
here,
knows?
LeBron James worked so hard, 51 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, the greatest player ever to step on the parquet floor. They still use parquet floor?
Maybe in Boston.
Can I just butt in here?
Yes, correct.
At the time that this was happening, I dropped a scented candle into the upstairs bathroom sink, and the wax went everywhere in the sink, and the wax dries and went into the drain. Viewers at home, while the game was going on, this happened. If you have a solution to getting wax out of a sink and out of the drain, is there some kind of trick to get dried scented candle wax out of the sink?
Flamethrower.
Greg just torched his man card on live TV. Kimberly, Dana, do you have anything
I
to
had
say?
one thing. So one of the memes that I liked was that picture of LeBron James doing that is when your neighbor and closest ally imposes tariffs on you.
Oh my God.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I feel his frustration being an
It's Justin
athlete
Trudeau.
like I am. But yeah, that's why you got to play it all the way through till the buzzer stops. You
There
can't
you
take any of
go.
it for
And if
granted.
the guy just hits the free throw, they're up 1. Don't go anywhere. Fan Mail Friday up next.
Fan Mail Friday, let's get started, shall we? This is from Cheryl C., Facebook. What are the things in your life that you would like to get rid of?
Ooh.
Could be a singular or plural. What are the things? All right, Geraldo.
I have so many leftover suits and other clothing from my 10 years, my 11, 12 years as a talk show
You
host.
should donate them.
I do, but I mean, it's like a constant thing, and you want to keep this, and maybe I'll wear that, and these shoes. And
There are, I believe, men in shelters wearing my suits right now. I donated like
Short
30.
men.
Yeah,
So
short
you've got a little army out
we
there.
all think of the same awful
They're
joke.
great for job they're great for job interviews.
I
'Cause
sell
if you
my
got to get a job, you need a
bell-bottoms.
suit.
Yeah, well, we
gosh,
donate
yes.
to Dress
And it's a
for
tax
Success.
write-off, too.
Exactly,
There's
my
like
man.
a little
Kimberly,
army
anything you
of
wanna get rid of?
things. What do I want to get rid of? Well, I mean, I do. I get rid of things that I want to get rid of. But specifically, I get rid of...
Ex-husbands?
The hits
you
just
should
keep
talk,
on coming.
Geraldo.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think you should be throwing shade at me. I mean, how many times have you been married?
Come on.
Yeah, outfits, clothing, I think is important, like especially for women re-entering the workforce, domestic violence victims, Dress for Success, Bottomless Closet. Those are places that I really like.
All right. Jesse?
I want to get rid of the bags under my eyes. I can't get rid of them. Maybe it's the drinks, or maybe it's the lack of sleep. But if anybody knows something out there, send me the tips. Home remedies.
Tea bags.
Tea bags.
Right? Tea bags?
You do use those?
Preparation
on your
H.
face?
Preparation H?
On your face?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can put it on
And they
pimples.
use it in beauty
Dana?
pageants to reduce puffiness.
You know,
of the
I'm
eyes.
pretty non-sentimental or unsentimental, is that the right word? And so I get rid of a lot.
Yes.
I would say I could still do another round on clothes, maybe some books.
Ooh, get rid
I
of
don't know.
books.
I don't really
How
have
dare you? I know.
I don't really have anything left.
She's
Well-
very good at editing and
If
like
you ever need
organizing.
someone to clean out your
Yeah.
closet,
Right now?
call me.
Wax
Hey, Geraldo.
in my sink. Get rid of wax in my sink.
That again.
Better
Please.
than in
That
your
again.
ear.
This
Yes.
is like in every
This might be a
segment.
thing.
My wife thought we were going to have to get rid of the sink. And I told her, that's like chopping off your ear. There. All right. Jane M., another Facebook says, if you could do a cameo on any comedy show, past or present, what show would you choose? That's a great question.
Already did it.
What-
Friends.
Were you on?
I was in the finale of Friends.
Were you?
No, you were not.
I was so.
He's got it on tape. It's in the
serious?
vault.
OMG.
I was in the finale of Friends, and I was in the final week of The Sopranos.
Get out of here.
Sorry.
I got to see this.
Well,
Did you have a speaking role?
I'm the highest rated Baywatch ever.
Oh my God. This is just
True.
so
These are true
All right.
stories. I've been around.
I believe it.
I
true.
don't.
Would you like to take
Geraldo
your
is,
shirt off?
is an
was that
American cultural
shirtless?
icon.
Yeah, it's true.
Were you shirtless again?
In
Again.
Baywatch, of
Yeah.
course.
Oh my
I was Alfred the nerd, and I had
I
to
remember
beef
this.
up, and I got.
I think I remember
remember
seeing this.
I think, can I say The Muppet Show?
Yes.
I would like to go on The
Oh,
Muppet
you're
Show.
so cute on that. Oh,
Kimberly,
that's
any show?
adorable.
I Can I just tell you that I think Sanford and Son was so funny? I just love that show so much.
Yeah.
I was to watch
I could see you hanging out there. Grady was great. Fred Sanford was great.
What would you do?
Not familiar with
I would
that.
do
Because Red Fox is
Fernwood
so
Tonight.
funny.
One of
That
the
was so good. That
greatest
was so
shows
good,
ever made. And if you can find them on YouTube and watch them, they're great. Did we ask you? Oh, yeah, you made a Friends joke. Real original.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of effort
that was
put
literally
into that
true.
one.
Mail it in Friday.
Yes.
Greg.
Richard Solecki writes, what is your favorite horror film of
gosh.
all time? You know, mine is Love Actually.
Oh my God, you're still up on that. You can't handle it.
One of the scariest, worst films ever made. But you know that, Dana. You agree with me about Love
I
Actually.
think every movie is pretty scary, except for comedy, rom-coms. I like a rom-com. I remember the first scary movie I ever saw was Carrie.
Ooh, that is
at
scary.
a sleepover, and I've never forgotten it. It was mortifying.
John Travolta was in that.
Was he?
Yes, he was the bad guy, wasn't he?
I liked Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger with
used to live on Elm Street.
knife on the fingers. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Bela Lugosi is Dracula. Ooh.
Very good.
Ooh.
Classic, very good.
I don't like any scary movies like that.
I don't like him either. I don't like him either.
I don't like any of those.
I had
types of
nightmares.
movies.
Anyone that you remember as a kid?
Yeah, I
What?
thought that like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was
That's not a horror
terrifying.
movie.
There are some
yes,
scary
it is
parts
to
in it.
me because the children eat too much candy and then they explode and then they get away from their parents. It's like very sad. And then also Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz is a very scary
serious.
film.
Very frightening.
The
I used
flying
to go
animals.
to sleep with my mom and dad when that was on.
Oh.
Best horror movie of all time, Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi, check it out, 1987. Fantastic film. Have you ever seen it?
Better
Anybody?
than one?
Better than one. Better than anything Sam Raimi's done, including Spider-Man. Terrific film.
Next question.
That's it.
Oh,
All right, one more thing up next.
there we go.
I wasn't looking, but somehow you found me.
Insurance?
It's time now for one more thing. I want to go first. I'm just kidding. I don't. They put me first. I don't want to be.
okay?
I don't want to be.
You high?
No, some things, are you all right?
You high
I just
again?
want to go home.
Why is she smoking before the show?
No, we've got to
No,
put a
last
stop
night
to this.
I got to go to an event called the Soldier Strong.
Yes.
Soldier Strong's Benefit Gala. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing advanced medical technologies to veterans. And I met this guy, Dan Rose. He was injured while on active duty. He was paralyzed. And last night he stood and walked using the Exo GT wearable exoskeleton. He was paralyzed after a 900-pound IED in Afghanistan went off underneath his Humvee. He did not let this be the end. He decided that you just keep going. You try to find new challenges. He now lives in Denver, Colorado. Come to find out, hey, Mom, he lives in Wash Park. So I'm going to hook you guys up so you can, on your walks, you can go over and say hi to him. He did say to me that the first time I stood up, I realized I'd forgotten what it was like to be eye level with everyone. It was like standing on top of a mountain. So Soldier Strong is a really great organization. Martha McCallum is a big supporter of it. So
Yes,
check
she
them
is.
out.
Nice.
Kimberly.
Absolutely.
Very
Fantastic. Well, it's time now for Kimberly's Food Court. Yes, yes, indeed. Alrighty, folks, it's National Donut Day. Jesse's very happy, and we've got a little bit of Dunkin' Donuts here. So this is celebrated annually on the first Friday in June, and it was established in 1938 to honor the Salvation Army Donut Lassies, women who served the treats to soldiers during World War II. Look at Jesse's digging in. Wow, this is a crowd pleaser. And the Salvation Army is teaming up with Entenmann's to deliver treats to more than 8,500 veterans as well.
Nice.
And more than 10 billion donuts are made every year in the U.S., and they estimate that the donut store industry rakes in nearly $12 billion in revenues each year. So
I'm
people love
surprised
the
it's only
donut.
10 million donuts a year that are made.
I'm going to take this one. Look, it's like a little light pink.
All right, Jesse, swallow that donut and do your one more thing.
All right. So Diamond and Silk.
Oh, this is delicious.
They came to New York, and we decided what better to do with them than send them to Harlem to ask people what they think of Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
I think he's a bigot.
You think he's a who?
A bigot.
Wait a minute, hold up.
I won't hold you back. I won't hold you back.
Okay, can you give me the definition of a bigot?
A racist. He started a lot of chaos when there's no need to be chaos.
What did he say?
He says a lot of things he ain't
Like
supposed
what?
to say.
Name one.
He talks about people that he shouldn't talk about.
Like who?
I am speechless. I am without speech.
Okay, so there you have it, Diamond and Silk. This Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Also, Best of the Party.
All right,
Who you're gonna make
Greg,
over
you
to?
get to go next.
All right, tomorrow night, 10 p.m., Saturday, the Greg Gutfeld Show. I got the great Rob Long, the excellent comedian David Angelo, of course, Kat Timp, and Tyrus. This is our 3rd year happy birthday show. It's going to be really special.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Will you have snacks?
Yes, but first, Greg's fitness tips. As you know, I was the editor of Men's Health, and I care about how your body looks. So the best way to get your biceps in shape, buy my book and lift it as though it's a barbell. Yes, Greg Gutfeld, the Gutfeld Monologues. It's at Amazon right now. You can go there and order 2. Order 2. So you don't have the muscular imbalance.
That's a good idea.
All right, I shall shut up now.
That's a good idea. All right, Geraldo.
Seeing the Seinfeld clip, I was not on Friends. I was on Seinfeld's finale.
Easy mistake,
Not
though.
the Friends finale. Yeah, easy.
I love them.
So anyway, I told you that I was going on my trip, taking my boat to Cleveland by water. I did it. Here we are leaving New York Harbor. Craig and I went up there. We went up the Hudson River to the Erie Canal, which is this historic, amazing place. We were greeted there by school kids were there. We were the first boat through this season.
Did you get your boat
then
waxed?
We had storms when we hit Lake Erie. It was very dramatic.
Wow.
It was wonderful. And we made it in 5 days, 2 hours to Cleveland, my new home in Cleveland. The Great Lakes are exquisite.
Is that a Hinckley?
It's a Hinckley, a picnic boat. I've had it for 20 years.
You guys know the names of boats. That's cool.
So cool. All right, that's it for us. I bet you're glad. We'll be back here on Monday, though. Special report is up next. Hey, Brett.
I'm not glad.